Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd like to know where you're connecting from, your name, so that we can welcome you. Welcome to today's episode. And before I go into the show proper, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sandra Ukoh. I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member. I'm a speaker, trainer, and coach. And also, your sales expert of over 20 years in the IT industry. I'm also a member of the Toastmaster International. I'm also the author of the book, Can Anything Hold You Back? I'm sure you probably would want to check out the book. You can check it out on Amazon. And today we have a great guest with us. But before I bring her in, I want to just introduce what the show is all about. So we have a short intro. We're going to just quickly play. Hi, you're welcome to Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh. I believe there is a great giant in you waiting to be discovered and unearthed. You have within you right now all that you need to become that change agent and the best version of you that God has made you to be. It is time to ignite you and discover your greater potential and to see the possibilities that exist within you to help you maximize your potential. Through this unique platform for mentoring, training, teaching, and coaching people on how they can become better versions of themselves after being through trauma and trials in their finances, business, career, relationships, and a lot more. At Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh Live Show, we leverage the power of storytelling, coaching, mentorship, and value creation to help bring about the best in people in order to create a world of difference. This show requires bringing us to assessing our value system and process of recreation of a good value system to help shape our thoughts through the guests that share their story on this platform. This process opens our eyes to new strategies, information, and value perspective that will help us define and refine our value system with more clarity on our why. We need to know our why. Why am I here? What have I been called to do or to solve? To help people live with a mindset, begin with the end in mind, and to stand out in all that we are called to do. You can join us live on Monday at 5 p.m. EST, 10 p.m. West African time. And if you have a great story or testimony to share, you can reach us via our contact info@deepinsightword.com. We will respond as soon as we get your details, or you send us your details via this link. Thank you, and you are welcome to today's episode. I hope you all felt welcome. And before I bring in our guests, I'd like to just read a short bio. Yeah, just a second. Trying to bring a bio. Pollie Massey is our guest today, and I'm so excited to having her today. And I'm sure my guests, you would also know what I mean. Pollie Massey is a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant that delivers. She's sought after as a cultural architect for leaders and organizational development professionals across global industries, including healthcare, utilities, medical, legal, aviation, hospitality, automobile, technology, and education. She has facilitated workplace fairness, diversity, inclusive leadership, change management, generational synergy, gender initiatives for governments, academic, and corporate organizations. Our success with senior leaders during a tenure at IBM, serving manager and executives was based on a measurable, sustainable result as the Southern Eastern Division Director with their Global Leadership Academy. In her role as an inclusion consultant, she recently led the Zoom Successful Virtual Principal Classroom Prep for schools across the U.S., prepare for virtual delivery in 2020 New Normal Classroom, assessment-based team building, focus groups, culture audits, focus group, culture audits, and D&I training for an array of professional, corporate, and government clients. In addition, she has served as a faculty manager and trained the trainer for facilitation teams in programs designed to support culture changes within organization while equipping participants with behavioral skills and strategies for individual growth and organizational change. She's a sought after coach, and I'm sure you know the reason why I said she's someone you will love to hear. And today I'm glad to bring her up. Pollie Massey, she's a dynamic presentation. She has a dynamic presentation style and energy, and have made a sought after speaker and workshop leader, invited to conferences and events across the United States of America, Africa, Canada, Middle East, Europe, and South America. And today we're excited to bring her on board to share her story while we glean from her, from her wealth of knowledge. So I'm excited to bring her on board. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Good morning.
I'm so excited to have you this day.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you to all of your
I had to work on your resume. It was so loaded. I had to see as a way to get the most important nugget out of it.
Just pick what you want. That's what I always say. Pick what you want. The most important thing is that the work I do supports other humans. This is human being work.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad to have you on board. I know that your schedule is a bit tight, but before we go in, is there anything you want to say where you're making a difference in your work? There probably might be some things I didn't mention that you might just want to touch base with before I start asking my questions.
Sure. I would say that anyone interested in any work that has to do with equity and inclusion and respect for the diversity of the folks that you serve, it's really just lead with empathy. You must care. So it's not just a head thing. It's a head, heart, and hands. You have to know the work, understand the work, know your topic, know where your customer, where your client's point of pain and what they want to change is, but you have to care enough to stay on the journey with them and help them learn it for themselves so that they model it in their space and hold space for people to take action based on their ability to take action. And that's where the hands is to take action. So it's a head, a heart, and a yes.
Thank you so much. And that's true. You have to take action. You have to move. I think there's this word by Martin Luther. He said, by all means, just keep moving. If you have to crawl, crawl. If you have to work, work. If you have to run, run. And even if you have to fly. But by all means, keep taking action. Keep moving. It's a year where we need to take action. You can't wait. It's insanity to say that you want to continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different change and expect something new. You've got to change what you did last year that didn't take you to your goals. How do I make a difference this year, 2023, and the year beyond? I want to welcome you, and I also want to thank you for coming on this show. And one of the reasons I'm going to be asking you a question is because of our youths coming behind us. During our time when we went to school, we had everything working for us. This time around, we have our youths, so many distractions. They have the phones, they have the game, they have the TV, they have gaming. And once they hit their millions, they think that's the end of school. No need for school. But beyond that, I want to let them know that it's not just about the money you make. It's about the wealth and intellectual capacity that money cannot give you. But you need to stretch yourself. It is said that if what doesn't stretch you doesn't grow you. So you can have all the money in the world. If you're not stretching and leaving your comfort zone, you're going to just, not make much of a meaning. And if you're not careful and the money has wings, it will fly away too. So I want to find out what informed all the gathering of knowledge, the wealth of knowledge you've been gathering over the years. Why did you go to school? Why do you see importance in going to high school, college, and you're still reading, acquiring more knowledge? What informed all that?
Well, reading the base and the foundation of one of my loves since I was a very little person. I love to read. I loved to read before I went to school. I still love to read. I will always love to read. Books are just they're an opportunity. Even with all the technology, they're an opportunity to sit still, to listen to an author's thought, imagine the characters, and to not just learn something, but it expands your vocabulary without you trying. If there's a word in a story that you haven't heard or is used uniquely, then that becomes a part of your lexicon without you even realizing it because it's in the story. So it naturally expands you have to be an active participant when you're reading,
Yeah.
opposed to when you're watching. An active participant when I'm in a book and I choose when I pick it up
Mm.
or to explore more about the author. What caused me to be a lifelong learner and reader was probably more than anything else. I started off wanting to be a teacher, and my first students were high school and junior college. So these folks in the beginning who were only a few years younger than me. And what a student values most, gains most, is how much the professor, the instructor really. We've all heard the saying, I hope, and if you haven't, I didn't write it, but I'm aware of it. People don't care how much you know until they. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Sure.
So a student knows when someone is just giving them knowledge or giving data and disconnected. If they ask a question that requires some deeper thinking, it's always helpful to say, tell me more, to clarify, to make sure you understand the intent of the question. And oftentimes they find the while you are tuned in, proactively listening, caring that they're not left with an unanswered question. Some of it takes more time, even if one question leads to another. It's not just check off the box what you keep. It's engaging everyone in the room. Remember, anytime you enter a room, you have different personalities. You have learners and readers, you have vacationers. Those are the people who don't really want to be bothered. They could be tired. You never know what's going on in their lives, why they're not engaged. You have people who don't want to hear stories. They just want to know what's one, two, one, three. Let's get this done and get out of the way. So the best teacher is all of the personalities, all of the ways that people learn that technique, not judging a quiet person versus a person. The quiet person could simply just be a listener. The talkative person could just be someone who's thinking very quickly, trying to keep up, but they both are there giving you opportunity to show up and share what you do. The
I
real
have it. I have the video. I couldn't hear you well.
okay. The real goal is that they learn or they leave wanting to learn more. It's not about the teacher, it's about the student modeling for them how wherever they are, they have an opportunity to teach something, even if it's simply a conversation with. We're always in an opportunity where
What do we do? The video is breaking. Do we do it again? Would you try it?
I
Try
can't
it again.
I can't tell that it's breaking.
It's breaking on my side.
Oh, because
I can.
I can still see everything moving. I can see my hand not frozen.
Okay, let's continue. Since it's not a live video, I would edit it and see if it's good to play.
All right.
Okay, that's a great one. Being a lifelong learner, and because you want to impact your world, you have to read more. Even beyond that, sometimes you could have, you have conversation going on. You want to have an idea of whatever conversation is going on. You want to know what is going on around your environment. You want to be able to, join diverse people talking or discussing. You don't want to seem blank in everything because you want to just make money, but you don't want to increase your intellectual capacity. Just beyond just making money, getting to meet with people, there is the need for you to be in a form of either informal or formal school. You could be learning, you could be in the 4 walls of a college. You could also be learning how to fix a car, how to build a house, but you must just be learning. Once you don't put your brains on learning, your brain cells begin to die. You tend to forget a lot of things. So there's this thing that says if you don't stretch yourself, you won't grow yourself. In order for you to grow, you need to leave your comfort zone. You need to increase learning. You need to keep learning. It is said that the only time you stop learning is only if you're gone, if you're dead. As long as you're living, there are different things to learn. And I want to encourage our viewers, what's your plan this year? What is your plan in developing yourself, increasing your knowledge? How do you plan to add more value to yourself? It is said that a person of value sees value in himself, so he is able to add value to himself. Meaning, if you don't value yourself, you won't value yourself. You won't add value to yourself. And in return, you won't affect your neighborhood. You won't give anyone value because you have not valued yourself. How would you value the girl or the lady or the boy around you? So you must value yourself as a person, see value in yourself, have value in yourself in order to be able to give value. You don't give what you don't have.
True. You're very much so spot on. One of the ways that I value myself is that I understand when I teach, I learn. And what I give, I get to keep. And what I keep, I lose forever. So I have no qualms about giving. And if you've ever encountered someone who knows something but won't share it, then they lose it forever. And like I said, when we're gone, what I've given will live on through.
Yeah, we speak thereafter. Word. And a lot of times in giving, you help yourself.
Absolutely.
You
Well,
grow yourself.
yeah,
Those who don't, people who hard and don't give out, in the long run, are doing themselves a greater disservice. They don't grow, they don't impact anyone. They are stagnant. They remain in the same place for ages. They don't move. And when they need help, people don't know them. People can't reach out to them because they keep everything to themselves. And it is said that in the graveyard, that's where you have a wealth of knowledge that could have been dispensed, could have been impacted to other generations. But a lot of people who had it kept it to themselves.
that's true. That my father called it the shoulda, woulda, coulda syndrome. After someone is gone, you can say they should have, or they said I would have, or
It's too late.
could, yeah, could have means I missed. So while we're breathing, take the opportunity and replace the word should have when how can,
Yeah.
would, what do you need? And so it's not shoulda. Somebody says maybe I will, maybe I should. How can I? How
Yeah.
can
And we should even have the mindset daily when we wake up. Who do I want to help today? Who has God placed in my path to be of impact? When we work with that mindset, we get to see these people. We get to see people who need help. And a lot of times, if we stay in our within our 4 walls without going out, we tend not to meet with people. So a lot of times I tell God, I said, I want to be on the field. I want to meet with people. I want to be able to interact. Because if you work from home, you have less people you interact with. You're just within the 4 walls of your house. You don't get to meet with anyone. But if you go out for shopping, you go out for whatever you go out to do on the field, you get to interact with people. And by so doing, you could give a helping hand. You could stretch out to be a blessing to someone.
Mhm. When
So
to my home, so even though I do work from home and if I do travel, because the consummate teacher lives inside of me and I always hold a space to share, hold space for someone if they have a question. Never be so busy with your business that busyness becomes your business. That hold space, for other people to ask a question, grow, or they become curious when people look at the bookshelf. They become curious. What do you do? And if they find a book that they interest them, I said, you can have it if you promise to call me next week, 2 weeks, and ask questions. What you read. Otherwise, you never book from my library. That's one of my things. So it sort of becomes an assignment, or some people say they don't like to read. And there's options. Hold space for people to be who they are when they're around. You never know, 10 years later, you will encounter that person or someone else. Something you said, something you, the hospitality that you showed, courage to move further. Or if someone says, I want you to meet my wife, I want you to meet my daughter, what a compliment. That means they felt your sincerity, they felt your integrity. And that's what I tell people in my diversity work. I'm usually working with leaders, but diversity is not new. God created diversity. He intended for us to be individual and specifically in charge of the talent that he gave us, to be stewards over our talent. Imagine if we were all the same, the rest of us wouldn't be necessary. So we are not supposed to be a carbon. We are uniquely designed to be and to accomplish that God set before. We're accomplishing the work that he put in, not someone else's work. Sometimes we work together, but we still have, as long as we stay out of comparison.
Sure, we are unique.
Right.
We all have a specificity. God created us and put something in each and every one of us. We all have giftings and we all have our strengths. You know, when we come together as a team, we'll build a formidable team. And that's why they said a three-chord stride is stronger than one, because when you try to break it, it is difficult. And so that's why it is necessary for us to work as a team. There's a saying that says, if you want to go fast in life, go alone. But if you want to go far and doing more, go with a team, because you're coming with different ideas and knowledge. You're coming to collaborate. So you're forming a stronger and a formidable team, and you're able to go. And there's this saying that says, woe to him that is alone in the day of trouble. You could be alone in the house. Once you stumble and fall, there's nobody to lift you up. But when you have a team of people, when you fall, they are there to lift and guide you to work. So there is a need of coming together.
Your example of the 3-strand cord is so important. It reminds me of comparison. The threefold cord now becomes a part of a team. It's not their job to compare which cord is better. It's for them together. Think about when you were a child.
Compliments.
Yeah. If you wanted to support someone, you put your hands together and together.
You can lock up.
Help someone get a leverage and lift up. As you don't pick them up this way, you grip your hands and give them.
Life is all about leveraging.
And leveraging. So remember that when you think about the threefold cord, to eliminate comparisons to other people, don't compare yourself. Comparison is a thief. Show up and enhance. You don't lose anything when you enhance someone's capability of doing their job better. You gain, as you said. Comparison is a thief, because that's what's happening when people are scrolling all day and looking at other people and trying to look like and be like someone else. Trust
you better.
Yeah, well, you just don't compare.
It's even wrong. It is said that those that compare themselves to themselves are unwise.
Well, what a waste. God made you divine and unique, and now you're trying to be someone else. What a waste of a perfectly original person. And you're telling him,
I'm my original self. I'm not trying to be like anyone.
As a fact, that's why you lead. I always encourage everyone to lead with who you are. Who are you? Tell me about you. And then, even though we have titles like mother, sister, daughter, auntie, but now I have all of these human beings who who have been in my life forever. My parents are no longer
And a
here.
lot of people have these accolades, and they
Mhm.
try to want to be their accolade. I'm a professor, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Beyond that, who are
I,
you? Those are all titles.
yeah.
And
What?
when you are gone, I'm sure nobody uses the title. And I
Yeah.
don't think in heaven anybody is being called a professor.
Who are you when you remove your title and think about who are you? What are the nobody is going to when you're sick and you show up for help, they should not be interested in you because of your title, because you're a human being.
Yeah.
More than anything else, just remember you're God's handiwork. So
Mm.
don't compare yourself to other people. And if you try to copy someone else, you're telling God, I'm not good enough the way you created me. So I need to copy or emulate someone else. Now, what a waste of all the gifts and talents. No one will ever get to know the treasure that is buried in you because you're trying to be someone else. And it takes time. It's not easy when you're younger.
Yeah.
So you,
And I find that this occur a lot with the youth because we have what you call the identity crisis. They're trying to become a man, I'm trying to become a lady. And they try to see someone in on maybe one of the, like my son, he's a soccer player. He loves mercy. Everything about him is mercy. And I said, don't make Messi a god. Messi is a human being. Why don't you strive to becoming better? Why don't you strive to become better than Messi? Why don't you tell God, Messi is great, but I want to be greater than Messi?
um,
Sharpen your skills.
so
Read about
I,
biographies.
oh,
Get to find out what people are doing or what they did in time past. What made them stood out. You
right.
can leverage on that and build on that uniqueness that God has put in you. And you'll be greater than that person you think is great.
So it's okay to have a hero as long as they don't replace your respect and honor for the identity and the core of who you are or your values. So
Sure.
if your hero steps away from his or her value, that you don't lose all hope because your value should be your value.
Sure.
And they should be with you no matter what the circumstances are. That's why I say hold space for yourself while you're making space for other people to be a hero in your life. Make sure you hold space for yourself.
Sure. That's a good one. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I also want to find out, whilst all the gathering of knowledge, meeting with people, when you had difficult times, how did you come out of it? Because I've seen in the past that people allow what they go through to bring them down. Some get into a depressed state and
Mhm.
they're never happy with themselves. And they're never able to pick themselves up to become their best version. What
Right.
did you do all when you had all this period? I know that life is up and down. Things might not go the way you plan it. How did you manage through difficult times when things weren't working out, you saw things falling apart? How did you keep yourself together to go through it and become stronger?
When I was very small, I didn't know that God had shown me visions that were amazing. I used to not know that it was a vision. Later on, when things would happen in my life, I was like, wow, I saw this. I came to understand that even if it seems impossible, just keep going. And eventually, even though it always seems impossible until it's done, Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done. And I didn't know how I would live without my father and my mother in my life, but I know the gifts and the opportunities they help create for me. The last thing they would want is for me to stop living because they were no longer here. If we all stop living because someone we cherished is no longer here, then you make their life less worthwhile because you're saying what they deposited in you wasn't good enough for for you to continue to
To
deposit.
represent them or
Resent them.
carry out their work where they stopped.
When someone is admiring something I've done or said, I always say, had it not been for all the great teachers, for my mother, for my father, for my aunts, for my uncles. I didn't even know when I was learning from them, but I was learning from them. And now I'm the aunt. Uh,
You
I,
are the mom. You are the grandmom.
I'm the mom. I'm the
You
Gigi.
are you
They
are
don't
the
call,
chef, the cook.
they don't even call they call me.
Awesome. You are everything. You are wearing several hats.
And so all of those relationships are more important to me than a title or a job or how much money. So I made a decision long ago that I wanted to make enough money to be able to live in such a way that I always had time for my family. Family was first, my home and my family was first. So it's not, even though people said, oh, I want to travel, but you need to want to come home. I always loved coming home. I was on a plane when I was a very young mother, and they were having engine trouble, and the men, because I just always believed I was coming home, and I prayed when my children were little that I would have the opportunity to be with them until they reached adulthood. It was like almost like I didn't know what to do when they graduated and went off to college. What am I supposed to do now? God said, step out and do the things that I told you to do in the beginning. Now you get to go do them. So even after my children started college, I expanded my career, opened my business, and instead of working for my employer, I took all of the gifts that I learned and would get paid for and get accolades and opened my own consultancy. And it was the best thing that I ever did because I could share my view of the world with other people. But I always loved coming home. I loved worshiping with my church family. I loved serving in areas where I was serving. Like the only reason I joined Toastmaster 10 years ago, now 11, was people would say, how did you get started speaking? And I said, well, the job I had, the church I went to, there were always times when people would ask. So I can't tell you about Toastmaster. So I was working, and I write a lot of content for training materials. I'll go join for a little while. That was 11 years ago.
And you're still stuck in there.
And the first 2.5 years that I was a Toastmaster, I also took on mentoring. So many people have come and gone who are still friends, who are not in our regular meetings. They came for a short time because they thought that they had a fear of speaking. When I mentored with them and partnered with them, they didn't have a fear of speaking. They had a fear of making a mistake or being wrong. And because they were prejudging themselves, once they got over that fear and their brilliance showed up, they took off. And
They escaped.
well,
But you know that life is a lifelong. You think you're good, but when you keep doing what you think you know how to do, you keep compounding, you keep improving.
well, I do sign language for the deaf. Okay.
Yeah.
Deaf. This is sign language. And many people always tell me, I always wanted to do sign language. I didn't do it for my job, but I have folks that I've mentored who are now professors at the College for the Deaf, who are now certified in states. And it's never was my dream to do it for a living. It was my empathy that wanted to communicate with my deaf students. That was it. It was not any, and
Yeah. You
I
wanted to meet a need, and that's what God has created each and every one of us to be. Really, why are you here?
yeah, like
If
that.
you know what you've been created for,
Yeah, it
you
was
would.
nothing wrong with the deaf person at church or the deaf person at the junior college. It was something wrong with the system that didn't create a space for them to learn. So I had to insist that they get an interpreter. But I didn't want the other students talk to me in between classes. I wanted them to be able to communicate. So
Sure.
yeah,
That was a great one. You gave them a plain level ground to be equal with those who can talk and those who can speak. That was a good one because
yeah,
it's
because
like building their confidence.
this is the word shy. And so sometimes if they wanted to talk to me privately and I couldn't communicate, once they saw that I had some limited level of communication. They could come to me alone. And then I said, tell me what you need. Let me see if I can help. And maybe their interpreter did not explain it where it was clear. That's the word, clear. See how the signs look like what they are? So
Beautiful.
I could explain it again, slow it down, draw an example, illustrate an example. That's the word, illustrate. And then that I could see their eyes light up.
Wow. Awesome.
All it
God is a good God. You can imagine, even the blind, even the deaf and dumb can still communicate.
And remember, the deaf and dumb is an old way of people who didn't know better calling them that. They never call themselves that. That would be considered to be an insult. And so they're deaf. They're not dumb.
Oh
Some,
my God.
some deaf people can speak, some deaf people don't use their voice. And it depends on when they became deaf. If you lost your hearing, heaven forbid, or I lost my hearing, we'll never stop using our voice. Right?
I get you.
Yeah. And so if any deaf people happen to be watching this on closed caption, they would say, why did you let her call us that? So I am saying we don't know what we don't know. And
Hmm.
that's why they were treated that way. Oftentimes, if they weren't in the proper school with the proper teacher, they are just as learning capable as we are. They have a different language.
Yeah, they have a different language. That's what we should say. They
Mhm.
have a different means of reaching out to them. And they have a different means of, communicating,
And
you
think
know?
brilliant deaf people who are now on places like TikTok teaching lessons to folks who don't know sign language because they're brilliant. This is the sign for brilliant. And so we had to make a space. So every time you step into an opportunity to meet with a client or another human being, if you're sitting next to them on an airplane, or you're in the grocery store and you're in the queue in the grocery store, maybe a simple conversation and someone that you say, excuse me, or if I look at the clerk who rang me up and I see her name is Deborah, I'll say, thank you, Deborah. And I'll say thank you to John who packed my groceries. You'll be amazed. They stop and smile at you because they forgot that they had a name tag right here. And
Yeah.
that is so much bigger. It didn't matter if I just came from an assignment that paid me $6,000 and I'm tired and I just stopped at the grocery store to grab some fruit so I can rest the next day. Rest, my empathy for other people, my desire to never take away when I'm in someone's space, but to always leave something positive, and my desire to show up as my best self and based on rest.
That's a great one. We've gone beyond the level of being sympathetic, but empathizing with them, being in their shoe, making them feel good and making them feel on top of the world. We don't have the right and the power to make people feel less of themselves. See how you can help lift them up, no matter what they're going through.
Exactly.
See the best in them.
Empathy is always my choice. Sympathy is something if I feel it, but empathy is I seek to understand. And remember, you are your best when you have rest. Have you ever been tired and cranky? So you make sure you build in. Remember, I said whenever you make space for other people, make sure you make space for yourself. Rest is a form of a young lady that I follow who talks about the importance of rest as a people in this country and across the world, we've often been seen as only as workers. Rest is a form of resistance. Just like not comparing yourself is resisting the urge to minimize you or someone else. Rest is a form of resistance to say, what my gifts are so important to my calling that I will rest so that when I show up to share my gift, I show up as my very best version of who I am. So I show up with empathy, the head, the heart, and the work that I do, the hands, and I rest when I have done the work so that when I show up again, I don't make excuses about being tired. I don't have to show up. And the wealth and the well of energy and gifts just flow. Sometimes someone says, "Oh, I wish I had recorded that because we were having a conversation. Can you say it again?" I said, "No, because it's not a script."
It's not true. And that's what happens a lot of times when people are speaking with you and you say something, I say, can you go back up there? Yeah, no, I'm not reading from a book. I'm just saying it from my heart. And just the way I said it, and that's it. Yeah, that's a good one. And
Never
in
memorize.
summary, you just said it all, that you learn to go through what you go through and come out stronger. Learn how to make a way around it. There's always a way. And that's why, we are the peak of God's creation. We are the best of God's creation. We are not the goats. We're not the sheep. We're not the bird. God, we are the best of God's creation. And so
Right.
God has put so much into us and expects us to use it. If you're underusing what God giftings that God gave you, God will look somewhere else. So you need to put yourself into use. Find out how you can get better. Find out how you can get stronger. Find out, oh, I'm going through this. I found out that challenges help you to think better. And that's why I call it the refiner. Your creativity comes in when you get into a tough situation. Like, how do I get back? How do I get better? What can I do more? Or what can I do in a different way to impact my world?
So you're absolutely right. I have a sign that my children gave me. It says, "I am my ancestors' wildest dream," because I used to say to them, "My mother, my father, my grand only dreamed about doing what I'm doing now. I can only dream about things that you will do and see in your lifetime. And all I want you to do is remember, mom would have loved to have seen this. Auntie would have been so tickled." So when they accomplish something great, it's not, you don't get the credit. They and God get the credit. And I'm happy for them that they got to experience it, because when you have your own experiences, you get to grow and it increases your faith. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. You, Sandra, are your ancestors' wildest dreams. And there's a scripture that says, "Don't envy the youth for their youth," right? As you get older, we're supposed to be wiser. Joy there.
True.
So whenever I hear someone criticizing young people, remember that when you were young, someone criticized you. They didn't understand what God had planned for you. We're not supposed to live someone else's uh,
Dream.
well, we're their wildest dream because we went beyond it. We've done and seen things, built houses, had jobs and titles that they couldn't imagine because that wasn't their season. That wasn't their time. They deposited what they had so that we could become the next generation. So I'm never going to be that person who is negative or says something bad about the current generation. No, you don't understand them. No, they're not doing things the way you would. But when you're gone, guess what? They have to live the life that they have called it to be. Just like we're not the same as when we were
No,
19.
we can be the same. But what we can help them do is
I'm certain
leverage on those technology to be better off than us.
I'm
Because
not
they have a lot of things working for them, a lot of things out there for them to be greater leaders, even much better than our generation. Because
yeah,
they have internet, they have information, they're exposed to so much knowledge. But as leaders now, we are meant to help them
mhm.
see the information they get. Some of them are getting some information they should not be seen at that age. And that's why, as parents, as leaders, as caregivers,
You
we
must.
need to watch and see what these kids are taking. Some kids at the age of 3, they have a phone.
Well, that's because as parents, we have to make time. Remember, I said make time and rest. If you're always busy and the screen becomes a babysitter, and when someone doesn't have the wisdom or the age to choose the appropriate material for their eyes and their minds to consume, that is on the adult who has stewardship over that child. You will, as an adult, to God above for the it's your responsibility. Once you've done the proper stewarding, you must allow them to scrape their knees when they're 20 and 21. You must allow them to. There are people now, Yvonne Orji, or Yvonne Orji. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a comedian and actress, Nigerian. She wrote a book called Bamboozled by Jesus. Of course, her parents want her to be a doctor. And her mother would say, "What is this comedy thing? Are you a clown?" Well, now they're very proud of her because she's well in the US for television roles and her comedy skits. And she says that it was a setup for when Jesus, that's why she says bamboozled by Jesus. She never stopped praying. She never stopped having faith, but she just didn't become a doctor or a lawyer. Those are not the only careers.
Yeah, they're not. Let's allow kids to be themselves and be
That,
who that God has called them to be. I want to thank you for being on this show. And I know if we keep talking, we'll be here all day. I want to ask, do you have any unique story you want to share with my audience? Something just to wrap and call this a day. I know we can be here all day.
the unique story for me is my children used to follow because they're 10 years apart. They would follow me around the kitchen. And then my daughter remembered it. What she kept walking behind me, and I would turn around. She was little and short, and I'd almost step on her. And I said, "I'm move away because I don't want you to get hurt while you're cooking, Mommy. I'm just trying to follow in your footsteps." Like, oh,
Oh,
it, it,
that's awesome.
so when my son kept doing it to her, and she says, and then she said to him, "What? Why are you right up under me?" You know, like she would be on the phone. He said, "Because I want to be close to you." She said, "You're," and so I said, "Remember, you told me that." And then I said, "So he's following your footsteps. Now just be aware of what you are.
Be a good model.
Yeah, be a good steward, what you're stepping to." And she always says that she wants her son to be just like her little brother. And I have a niece. And so when people ask me, how did they get that way? I'm telling you, it was making time.
Hmm.
I've had now
Hmm.
used to back in the day when I was working in corporate, everybody bragged about being at the same company for 25 or 30 years. That felt very secure.
You said it all.
Yeah,
You see that money cannot buy you time with the kids.
it went on.
Once you lose that time, you can get it back. And once they're out of the house, they get busy. And when you call them, let's go for vacation, I don't think I'm interested because there is no connection. Oh my God. Making time with the kids.
Yeah. Never criticize someone. And that's why we had to create laws so that mothers could have time and fathers could have time with their children. We have learned over the last 3 years with the great resignation that working all the time, so working from home or a balance of creating space to be around other people. Yes, we're still learning. If we knew it all the establishments that we try to do business with wouldn't be shorthanded. They would have already created an environment that people want to go back to. They want to blame it on the young people. It was the environment that they were in, not making enough money, to not have to work 2 jobs, to really be able to take care of their families, be wholly committed to the job when they're there, but not be worried about the safety and well-being of their children. Remember, their children only go to school a few hours a day. If the only education your children are getting is the one they get at school, it's not enough education. So we're still learning as a country, as a system, as businesses, to not expect for us to make a lot of money, but to pay everybody else a little money by devaluing their humanity. Your humanity is great. The song I've been listening to lately by CeCe Wine is where she talks about the goodness of the Lord. So that's my anthem every morning and at night, sweet thoughts before bedtime, is to never forget how good God was to you. So when he puts you in front of his other people, his humans that he loves, his children, you show them his goodness by how you treat them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a good way and a great way to end this episode for today. Thank you so much. Showing
And
God's goodness to the God, to the beautiful creatures that God created.
yeah, and I always
Giving out yourself.
of the goodness of the Lord, right?
Yeah, giving out yourself.
How
There is
dare-
nothing more than what you give. It's not about money. Your
right,
time, your wealth of knowledge, your love. The showing forth the goodness of God cannot be bought with money. So we as parents, fathers, mothers, uncles, and aunties, we've got to make time for our loved ones and even the people God has put around us. You want to say something, Mom?
how dare we have all these houses, these cars, these great opportunities, and not remember when we didn't, and be and who and why we have it. So you said understand your why. It's because of the goodness of the Lord.
Sure.
Don't get so much, so important, such a big title that we forget. So when people think about diversity, it just goes back to the goodness of the Lord. He created a space in this country where whether people like it or not, we have great diversity, and we continue to talk about it and empower everyone to have their best experience at work. That's why I do diversity. To me, it is the Lord's work.
It's fun having different people coming together. It's really fun. And God had made it for a way, and we need to enjoy it and work with it that way and see how we can blend,
Well,
come together and be one.
I bless the work of your hands. I thank you so much for having an opportunity to speak to you and your audience. I hope that the technical pieces, you're able to edit it out because of your brilliance in the IT field.
I'll do that. But thank you so much for your time. I know you have a busy schedule and coming out to share with my audience. I'm so excited. So much to gain from you. And that's why I said I might have to bring you another time because it's not enough. I still felt like talking, but I needed to call it a day. Thank you so much for making a time. And I also want to thank our audience for joining us on this show. I hope this impacts you. And if this is impacting you, please share, share, share. And if you need to reach out to Pollie Massey, you can reach out to me. I'll talk to her and I'll be able to bring both of you together. I can be a connecting rod, bringing both people together. She's an awesome leader. I've learned a lot from her, and I'm sure you will glean. And if you have not watched this video, please watch it to the end, share with your friends so that you can get the nugget. I think towards the end, you said, oh, that's the icing of the cake. The beauty of all you said, it was at the end. We need to make our time for these geniuses that God has placed around us. Make a time. They are also watching our steps. They want to walk in our steps. They want to be closer to us. Let's make time and embrace these lovely creatures around us and be, and overflow to others. God has caused us to flow and not to keep to ourselves. In flowing to others, we learn. We get more than we initially gave out. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.